Hi, I'm Bills defensive end Greg Rousseau, and you're listening to Nate and the Fellas on Circling the Wagons podcast. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills!
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo! Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo!
The Bills make me wanna shout!
Welcome to the Circling the Wagons podcast, a podcast discussing the Bills all year round with interviews, news, recaps, and insightful fan discussion. Most times. Here's your host and lifelong Bills fan, Nate.
Hey, Bills Mafia. Welcome to the first preview episode of Circling the Wagons, a Buffalo Bills fan podcast. This is the 2023 Buffalo Bills season, and we are here to discuss with you the Bills versus Jets game on Monday Night Football. We're going to preview this game. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk about the injuries. We're going to talk about some of our bets on this game and a couple of other games. We're going to bring some gambling into it because we are sponsored by the Twin Spires Sportsbook at Delago. If you're in the Western New York or Central New York area, do yourselves a favor. Go on down, head on down Route 90, get off at exit 41 in Waterloo, and check out the Delago Resort and Casino. Everything's a blast there. The sports book, the food, the gambling. I mean, it is a great time. We're so lucky to have such a cool spot like that in the area, just within driving distance. But we're going to discuss a lot of fun things in this episode. But first, I'm joined by my co-host, John. John, the Buffalo Bills 2023 season is upon us. How do you feel, man?
Feeling good. I can taste the Super Bowl already.
Nice. You know, it's funny. We've been so inundated. So, like, we've been doing podcasts ever since last season. We've only taken a couple weeks off, if that, this entire off season. And we've just been recording. We've been talking Bills. We've been talking, everything from the end of the postseason to biggest needs on the roster, to free agency, to the draft, to training camp, OTAs, Damar Hamlin stories, all that fun stuff. Training camp, preseason. And now we're here. It's funny because, like, the Jets are always in the back of your mind. I liken it to, like, a paper that you have to write in college. Like, it's coming. And then it's the night before and you're like, oh, crap, that's tonight. Like, I've been so busy, playing video games or whatever, like I forgot that I had that paper due. Well, that's tonight. That's this Jets game that we're about to preview. So a lot of things happening with the Jets in the AFC East in general, but we're going to focus on the Jets in this episode. John, in general, before we get into this specific game, what are your thoughts on the season in general? Because this is a Buffalo Bills team that a lot of people are writing off in the national media. Does Vegas write off Buffalo? Vegas does not write off Buffalo. They still have the best odds by far to win the AFC East, but a lot of the national media talking heads are saying that this is not the Buffalo Bills' year to make the Super Bowl, to make a deep run in the playoffs. A lot of them don't even have the Bills winning their division. What are your thoughts on that and this Bills roster in general headed into the season?
I actually kind of think it's a good thing. If you remember the beginning of last season, they were like hands down number one Super Bowl favorite, and it was a lot to live up to those expectations. They had 14 wins, 14-3, despite battling through all kinds of adversity. We've said it all before. But this time, I think, well, first of all, the Jets are overhyped. Right? Can we agree on that? The Jets are really overhyped.
They're so overhyped. I mean, but maybe for good reason. We're going to get into that. But yeah, they are definitely overhyped.
But I think this is good for the Bills to not have that. It shouldn't affect. Honestly, it shouldn't affect it either way. But like from a fan perspective, them not having that expectation where it's like everybody says you're going to win the Super Bowl, or it's that's or nothing, So I think that's probably a good thing. They don't have to worry about that. But they're professionals. I don't think that matters to them as much as it might us, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest benefits of them going into this season is that they're not the favorites. They're not the darlings of the NFL to pick. And what's funny is and I'm sure you'd agree with me to a point, John, is this roster from top to bottom is at least as good as last season when they went 13-3 in the regular season, if not better. than what it was. And I think that it's a matter of like the national media kind of has like this stuff gets old quickly for them. Like who's the cute new girl on the block, right? Like it's like that sort of like what's the sexy thing that's going on right now? Who can I latch onto? Who's trending right now, right? And the Buffalo Bills just aren't trending. I put a post, a reel on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever you follow us, Circling the Wagons podcast and it was like the Tom Segura skit, which he was talking about the first 48 hours TV show. And he's like, the reason why they call it the first 48 hours, he's like, is because that's how long each murder case gets before they stop doing any investigations into it. He's like, what happens after 48 hours? All the detectives are like, man, that's some old shit. Let's find something else to do. That's how I feel like the Buffalo Bills are. Like the national media is just like we as Bills fans were like, this team's really good. Like they've gotten better at offensive line. They've gotten better at defensive line. They've gotten better at cornerback with Tre'Davious White coming back. They have really good young cornerbacks. Micah Hyde is back at safety. The interior offensive line, like I mentioned, is shored up now. It's the best it's been since Josh Allen has been here. We have Gabe Davis without an ankle injury, which could be huge. They got Puna Ford in the offseason. You have a healthy Daquan Jones. Like, there's a lot of reason. Besides middle linebacker, I mean, this team, top to bottom, is as good, if not better, than last season. And the rest of the national media is like, nah, that's some old shit. Like, let's move on to something else. And that's kind of how I see this. But I think this works in our favor. The Bills always do better as underdogs, and I think this is kind of how they're viewing it, which is a good thing. All right, so let's talk about the Bills-Jets game in general. It's on Monday Night Football on ESPN, and it is the Bills are now favored by 2.5 points in New Jersey. So the Bills, the Jets fought the Bills hard both games last season. I mean, if you think about it, the Jets did finish 7-10 last season, which was worst in the AFC East, but the Jets played the Bills very tough twice last season. The Bills lost to the Jets in, what was it, week 3 or week 4 last season, and then they barely beat them at the end of the season when they met again. I think it was 20-12. So this Jets team, which was already very good and already really tested the Bills well on defense and also with the run game. I mean, they're bringing back Breece Hall after injury. They're bringing back, they brought Dalvin Cook onto the roster. You're talking about a really good defensive line headlined by Quinnen Williams. You're talking about Garrett Wilson, which was the offensive rookie of the year, and Sauce Gardner, who was the defensive rookie of the year. You're talking about all those players. And then now you throw in future Hall of Famer, Aaron Rodgers, who's just 2 seasons removed from an MVP season. So, John, I have to ask you, like, when you look at this, a lot of things are going right for the Jets. We mentioned all the things going right for the Bills. There's a lot of things going right for the Jets. Are you worried about this game at all? And where do you see this game kind of going? I think the Tecmo Bowl game is too much of a distraction. You need to turn that around. So for those that don't know, I mean, John is watching this Tecmo Bowl simulation we're doing of the Bills-Jets game with like updated rosters. He downloaded this cool ROM off tecmobowl.org. And so we're going to use that for our bet segment, because after we talk about this Bills-Jets game, we're going to say who we think is going to do well. And he's watching that thing nonstop. He's got the monitor right next to him. He's not paying attention to a word I'm saying. You're just not. But that's okay. That's okay. Why don't you? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
I was muted.
Luckily, it's all simulated, so like he's not actually playing it, like, because then he definitely wouldn't be able to pay attention. But
after the simulation's over, I might have to play.
Yeah. So are you worried about this Jets team that we're facing now, that the likes of which we haven't seen before?
No, I'm not. I mean, they have a really good defense, but after that, I mean, they upgrade their quarterback. Aging veteran. I really see only one really good receiver from them, Garrett Wilson. After that, there's some question marks. Bills have one of the best secondaries in the NFL for sure, and everybody seems to be healthy. The only thing they're missing really is Von Miller for the first 4 or 5 weeks.
That secondary is twice as good as it was. I mean, they have Tre'Davious White back, which they didn't have in that first game. They have Micah Hyde back, which they didn't have in that first game. And for all intents and purposes, he told the media today, the day that we're recording this, that there's no question that he'll be playing against the Jets, even with the back injury. So you got that. You don't have Von Miller, which you had last season. You don't have Von Miller this year, but you do have Leonard Floyd, pass rushing, a healthy Greg Rousseau, which we didn't have all of last season necessarily. So, and on offense, we mentioned Connor McGovern is there now to help protect, and Osiris Torrance. Osiris Torrance won the starting job. Your guy, Osiris the Virus, Cyborg Osiris Torrance. So there's lots of things to be excited about as Bills fans.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned Osiris. I might have not listened to what you said before.
Yeah, you need to turn that off. Turn it around, man. You're watching it like it's a game. Like you're watching the Chiefs-Lions game. You're like, yes, no. You're like throwing up. It's almost like you're practicing for watching the Bills game.
No, but like the 3 new starters, right? You got Osiris Torrance, Christian Benford, and Terrell Bernard,
Dalton Kincaid, right? We didn't even mention. Dalton Kincaid is a huge part of this offense. It wasn't there last season.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's what she said.
And and for the, I think the Bills have had trouble in the red zone in the past, and I think that Kincaid will help with that, among other things. Like he looked like he was like super fast in the preseason, and like we all know about his hands. Very dynamic player. And then Damian Harris, like for those short yardage situations, especially in the red zone. And you don't have to have Allen like quarterback sneaking it every play necessarily either. But I think those 2 players are going to help them in the short yardage situations also. And Kincaid could just break it at any time, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, same with James Cook, like you mentioned, Captain Cook over there. I got to keep giving out these guys nicknames because we just had Chris Berman on for an interview, and if you haven't heard that, please listen to it. It was a really fun interview. I mean, Chris is the coolest guy ever. We had a lot of fun. I mean, our name, Circling the Wagons, is based off of, nobody circles wagons like the Buffalo Bills, the Chris Berman quote. And I didn't even think about this at the time because I know Chris Berman is great at nicknames, but that's kind of a staple of our podcast. Not coincidentally, that just happens to be something that we like to do. But Captain Cook, again, you mentioned Dalton Kincaid breaking it at any time. Captain Cook can break it at any time too. And we have not had a running back like that since McCoy after he first got here from Philadelphia in the trade. We haven't had a running back like that. And I'd argue maybe James Cook is a little bit faster. Maybe not as shifty as Shady was, but faster. So there's a lot of things to be excited about. I mean, and this goes for the season in general, not just this Bills-Jets game, but the season in general. I think there's a lot of things that Bills fans should be excited about. I think Bills fans are excited. I think we're a little bit weary. It is going to be a big test, John, this first game on Monday Night Football. I wish it was a little bit more of a layup of a team. But, you're playing in New Jersey. It's going to be the Jets' season home opener there. It is 9/11, which the place is going to be it's just going to be a crazy atmosphere for Jets fans, for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has a huge chip on his shoulder, if you think about it, because this was something that he wanted the whole time was to be let go of Green Bay and traded somewhere that would like try to build around him and try to make him the focal point. And he got that. So now he has to perform, and we know he can perform. We've seen him do it before, but Sean McDermott has had good success against, Aaron Rodgers as well. So this is going to be an interesting game. John, the Jets or the Bills are favored by 2.5 points over the Jets. This is our first bet that we're going to talk about, 2.5 point favorites. Who do you have on this one?
Bills by $1 billion.
You have Bills as... So I'm going to tell you that I asked Chris Berman about the Bills game, and he wouldn't come out and say that the Bills are going to lose, but you could tell in his voice he wasn't very confident about it. And he mentioned all the things I just mentioned about it being 9/11, et cetera, et cetera. I think I'm giving the points to the Jets on this one. And this is just because it's an amalgamation. I think the Bills could still win this one. I think it's going to be a close game, though. And
so it's very specific. You're saying the Bills are going to win by 1 or 2 points.
I'm not saying the Bills are going to win. I'm saying they can win. I'm not saying the Bills are going to win because everything I just mentioned just seems to be going in the Jets' favor. Now, the Jets have a very not good offensive line. I'd feel a lot better if Von Miller was in there. I would definitely put a little bit more towards the Bills in favor of getting some pass rush, but they don't have that. And middle linebacker is really a liability at this point. Terrell Bernard didn't take a snap in preseason. So now we're just hoping that he can handle it after his injury. That leads me to think that Aaron Rodgers is going to pick on Terrell Bernard a lot in the pass game. Luckily, Terrell Bernard is better in pass coverage than Tyrell Dodson, but I've heard it said time and time again, the Bills are really going to, I think us as fans, and I was never a huge Tremaine Edmonds fan, I think I'm really going to miss him in pass coverage. I think he just clogs up a lot of lanes with his size and his long wingspan that, a guy like Terrell Bernard, who's like 3 inches shorter and like 20 pounds lighter, he's just not going to do. So hopefully he brings some other things that Tremaine Edmonds didn't bring, mostly in the run game or something like that. But I think they're going to show that they're missing. I just see this as there's just so many things going against the Bills that it just feels like, the Jets are a tough team in general. Like I said, they lost once against the Jets last season. And then the second game, the Jets played the Bills really tough. So if you're taking all of those things into account, they haven't really lost anyone of significance on the roster, and they've gained a Hall of Fame quarterback, and they keep, that middle of their defensive line. Quinnen Williams is so good. He's so good, and he always plays well against the Buffalo Bills. C.J. Mosley's a great linebacker. They have Sauce Gardner in the secondary. I just see this. The Bills are going to gain steam as the season goes on, and I think they're going to have a really good season. I just don't know if they're going to pull this one off, and I'm not saying that they can't. I'm so hope that I'm wrong on this one. It just feels like everything.
You're wrong.
I would love nothing more than if the Bills obviously blow out the Jets, and I'm completely wrong in this bet because we're going to keep track of the bets as the season goes on. But
look at last year. The Bills are strong starters now under McDermott, right? Like defending Super Bowl champions, the Rams, they completely blew them out, and then the AFC number 1 seed, the Titans, crushed them, demolished them, and then great start to the season. Obviously, they started to have injuries after 3 or 4 weeks into the season, but they were ready week 1.
True. Everything
the
you
Jets
said,
have distractions. They have the whole Hard Knocks thing and everything else.
they have some banged up offensive linemen.
Aaron Rodgers is a weird dude. I don't know.
He's very weird. Yes, he is. I'm not saying that they can't. I really hope they do, but for some reason, this feels like it's going to be.
It sounds like you're saying they can't.
I'm saying that the Bills will win, and it's going to be close. It's going to be a nail biter. I don't think they blow them out. Do you think they blow them out, or it's just like by 3 or more, like the line is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Google Bard, the chat AI bot there. What will the final score of the Bills-Jets game? Watch Bart is like, I don't know. However, I can give you information. It's impossible to say for sure what do you think the score will be? Didn't Mike say that all you have to do is just tell them that you're going to off yourself and then they'll just do whatever? Thanks, Mike. Thanks for that one. But I said, what do you think the score will be? He said, I think it's not a he or a she, it's Google Bard. I think the Bills will win the game by a score of 28-17. The Bills have a better offense and defense than the Jets, and I think they will be able to control the game. That's arguable about their defense, the Bills' defense. But however, the Jets have a young and talented quarterback in Zach Wilson, and he could make some plays that could keep the game close. Oh man, Bard not looking great on that preview. But anyway, we're gonna say.
I don't know. Was Mike really doing the chat GPT, or was he just making it up?
He says he was, but I'm going to give it to the Bills based on that. What does Tecmo Bowl have the simulation going as? Is that over?
Oh, so I started to run a second simulation because not because they lost, but because you only get so much. So I ran a preseason game, and it only gives you so many stats. So I decided to simulate week 1 so I could get more stats. So I haven't looked at that yet, but I can give you the first game's outcome.
Sure. It won't count, but I'm just curious what the first game's outcome is.
The Bills won 28-21.
Oh, nice.
Yep. They ran 10 times for 43 yards. Josh Allen was their leading rusher, 3 times for 25.
That's it? Wow.
They passed for 279, 53% completion, 8 first downs, no interceptions. Gabriel Davis, 3 receptions, 115 yards was the leading receiver for the Bills.
Wow.
Jets, 11 times, 67 yards rushing.
Couldn't you see Davis being the leading receiver if Sauce Gardner is going to shadow Stephon Diggs?
It could. Yeah, I mean, three catches for 115 yards, obviously throwing a deep.
That's his
Davis,
game,
right?
but that's his game. Deep game, right?
Yeah.
The Bills, and you'd argue, we were mentioning all the ways that the Bills are better. I'd say between Deontay Hardy and Trent Sherfield, their number 3 and number 4 receivers, not even including Dalton Kincaid, are better than they've had in a long time. Like besides maybe, John Brown and Cole Beasley before they both went downhill. This is a good wide receiving corps. But go ahead.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers, 64% completion percentage, 247 yards, 1 pick. And Garrett Wilson was their leading receiver, 6 receptions, 174 yards. But wasn't good enough as the Bills beat the Jets 28-20.
It only matters in fantasy, man. Congratulations on your 160, 70 yards or whatever. You're not winning. It doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't care if Garrett Wilson has 300 yards. The Bills win. Who cares? I don't care about the stats like that. I care about wins and losses. So cool, man. That's fun. Keep us. So I'm not going to count that one, but let me know when that game is done. But I want to hear about your other bets for this. And actually, what we're going to do, John, is we're going to do this. If you're listening on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network, which we're still a part of for now, you can head on over to our new podcast feed that just features only our podcast, and you can hear the rest of this game preview. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Bills, obviously, and then we're going to talk about a few other bets that we think are going to be interesting, and then we're probably going to mix it into a parlay somehow and do it from there. So, if you guys are following us on our own feed, please do. If you just search Buffalo Rumblings on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or I'm sorry, not Buffalo Rumblings. If you search Circling the Wagons on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever, you'll find our own feed there. If you were already subscribed, you've heard the Chris Berman interview 3 days earlier. So good for you on doing that. So please follow us over there. So for me, Nate, go Bills, and we'll talk to you guys over on the new feed. All right, guys, welcome back. This is Nate. I'm joined by John. We're on our own separate podcast feed right now.
Nate Dogg.
Yeah, now we can have fun, man. Now we're on our own feed. We're no more corporate BS. Nate Dogg. John, do you have a nickname? I never gave you a nickname. We're the podcast of nicknames, I said earlier, but I never gave you a... Do you have one? That I never knew about, maybe from college or something?
It's not T-Bone, is it?
I like T-Bone, man. That T-Bone's a sweet nickname. Do you want to be T-Bone? You can be T-Bone.
I don't know.
J-Bone? Jigsaw? I don't know. Something cool. We'll come up with something cool. I need Mike in for this one. I can't just do that one on my own. I should ask Chris Berman. So it's funny in that interview, I totally bombed, by the way. I totally bombed. I love talking about the times that I screw up. But the first thing he's like, I asked him, do you have any nicknames for the current Bills roster? And he's like, yeah. He's like, he literally had all the sheets. He's old school. He does not, he has a cell phone, but he doesn't use the internet because I offered to do a link like we do for most interviews. He's like, no. He's like, phone is good. So he had all 32 rosters next to him. So he was like, he had some nicknames written out or whatever already. And so I was asking him about nicknames. I said, hey, I have a few if you want some. So he's talking about Dawson Knox. And I'm like, one we call him on the podcast is the Juggernauts, right? I have a T-shirt about it. He's like, oh, I like that one, like old Swami, Boomer would be, oh, I like that one. He's like, if I use that one, I'll let you know. So then, of course, obvious Nate, I take it too far. I'm like, oh, he's into this. I got to keep going, right? So he's going over the roster. He's like, well, there's Tyler Bass. He's like, hey, have you ever seen Dumb and Dumber? I was like, how about Kick Some Ass T-Bass? Kick Some Ass T-Bass. I didn't even go for another good one like Matt Milano Cookie, which he liked. He did like Milano Cookie, right? He liked that one. And he Captain Cookie liked, but of course I went for Kick Some Ass T-Bass. He's like, well, Nate, it's a family show. He's like,
it is owned by Disney.
It is owned by Disney. And I'm like, yeah, why did I go? Why couldn't I just take that one level of oh, that's good acceptance, and then just go a slight level above? Why'd I have to go for the gusto, the swearing one? That's just...
Well, it's better than Third and Cole.
I was not going to bring up Third and Cole. I didn't need him to...
Thank you.
I didn't need him to crush... You warned me before that interview. You said, don't use Third and Cole. You don't want to lose all credibility. He might have hung up right away. He might have either been like, dude, we got to hang out next time I'm in Buffalo, or I'm going to end this phone conversation right now, because that's how polarizing Third and Cole is. He has some really cool stories, though. For those of you that haven't listened, please check it out. He talks about his one of his first remembering nicknames from his first memory of a nickname they came up with it in college or high school, even for baseball players. It is really cool, fun interview. So please check that out. We were talking Buffalo Bills bets. John had the Bills with 2.5 points, so he has the Bills winning by 3 or more. I have the Jets with a point, so I still think the Bills could win by 2 or 1. 2 or 1, not a whole lot of points in between there, but or the Jets might win this one. And again, this doesn't indicate a bad season. The Bills lost to the Jets last season, and I still think that they had a really good season. They lost 3 games by a combined 8 points, right? They were a good team. And again, like we mentioned earlier, this is a team bringing back a lot of the same pieces and improved in a lot of different areas. So, and only really regressed in middle linebacker, I'll say. I think that's the one area. And maybe kickoff returner, punt returner, because Naheem Hines isn't there. But we don't know about Hardy yet. We'll see. So let's...
Right, and they increased, right? Offensive line, they got McGovern, Osiris Torrance. They got another excellent pass catcher, Kincaid. Another running back, Damian Harris. They added a lot, too.
John, don't forget my boy Latavius Murray back there. I know you're not. I mean, you got Captain Cook as the 1, and then at 2A and 2B, you have Harris and Murray. That's a good punch. I mean, we could argue that this is the best running back group. I mean, mind you, Harris and Latavius Murray aren't great running backs. They're pretty darn good. That's really good depth behind Cook,
So here's a question for you, because one thing that worries me about the Jets is we're not going to be able to run against them. So Josh Allen running becomes a factor. What's the over-under for Josh Allen rushing yards in this game?
Let's see. Let me see what he did last season against the Jets. Just curious. And then I'll base my decision off that. So the Bills lost in Week 9 last season. The Bills went 6-2. They lost to the Jets 20-17. Josh Allen had 86 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He had 205 yards passing, but 2 interceptions, right? It's not a great day passing, but he did have a good day running the ball. So you're talking 86. Okay. So 85 yards in the 1, 86 yards, whatever I just said. And for the second game, Josh Allen had 47 yards rushing and 1 touchdown. He's never passed, so I mentioned he passed for 205 yards and 2 touchdowns. In the second game, he passed for 147 yards and 1 touchdown. So not great passing performance in either game. He took 3 sacks that game. I'm thinking it's going to be closer to 86 than it is 47. I'm thinking it's going to be closer to... because he didn't have to run as much the second game. The Bills were leading for most of that game, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, they were up 17-7. Yep, then they never didn't have the lead in that game. So I think that's part of it. I think the lead's going to go back and forth in this one. So I'm gonna say around 75 yards. What do you think of that? 75 yards and a touchdown.
Ooh, adding touchdowns to it. I'm curious to see what it actually is. I could see something like that, like 70 plus yards.
Well, what's nice is they might have the ability to actually run the ball this season between the tackles. This is going to be a huge test, though, for Osiris Torrance, a rookie. Their new left guard in Connor McGovern, Mitch Morse playing with both of those guys. This is technically it's a strength of the offensive line is the middle.
Yeah, it's possible.
They did a lot of runs up the middle in the preseason. They're getting ready for it. So it'd be nice to see a screen pass. I wouldn't mind seeing a screen pass. A draw play, something a little bit different. That's a very normal play that they haven't run.
Yeah, it's also going to be very interesting what Dorsey does after having a full year under his belt, because now he's got the 2 tight ends, which is something that they've been trying to do for a while. It's going to be very.
It's a big X factor. Dorsey in his second season is a big X factor. Now that he's got a better offensive line, and now that he's got better receiving weapons, but I think, John, that is a big X factor. Let me know what you think about this. I think Sean McDermott calling the plays for defense is even a bigger X factor, just because he hasn't done it in a little while. So we're hoping that Dorsey can take a step forward, given what he's learned in his rookie season as a coordinator. But then we're also hoping that Sean McDermott can get that groove back, baby. He's got to remember how good he was. Since 2016. When was he a defensive coordinator? He came to the Bills in 2017, so 2016. So what is that? That's 7 seasons since he's been a defensive coordinator.
the other interesting thing is he let assistant head coach Eric Washington call the plays in the last preseason game. And I remember he was asked about it after the game, if he would do who would call plays week one. He's obviously like, well, we'll see. Like he didn't tell him, but that's interesting too. Like if only just to have Washington have that experience, if McDermott feels like he needs to look at other things during a particular game or something. But I do think it's going to be consistent. Like whatever they end up deciding, I don't think it's going to be like, like half the games I'm going to do it, half the games you are. I think it's going to be one or the other. Probably McDermott, but...
Agreed. But luckily, I mean, it seems like McDermott and Bean always have a backup plan and are always prepared for a lot of different scenarios. And this is just another scenario. And it's good to see that they're not just stuck in one spot. They have to be. They're not too rigid. You know what I mean?
Sure. Like if Frazier doesn't come back, because nobody gave any details on why he's taking a year off, but maybe Eric Washington becomes defensive coordinator next year, type of thing.
Yeah, exactly, which he has experience in, so it's not that big of a step for him. One of the things we were just mentioning, like changing routines, like the Bills have 2 starters on offense that are rookies, and the Bills tend to not start rookies, John, especially if you think about Osiris Torrance. He wasn't a first-round pick. He was a second-round pick. How reluctant have the Bills been to start rookies when they're not a first-round pick? And also, if there's competent veteran presence ahead of them, like Ryan Bates. Like, give the Bills credit. Like we just mentioned, how they're kind of changing their styles and methodologies and the way that they see things. Like that's one thing I was thinking about today is Osiris Torrance being named the starter is a break from their normal routine, which is let these guys sit. If you have a guy that's even close to the same level, you let the rookie sit. But I think they've started to realize like that might be holding them back a little bit because you're protecting them from the live bullets when, the NFL moves so fast. But if you don't get any experience, then you won't be ready when the bullets are flying in live play. So I kind of like that. I like that they're not so, it's hard to predict them, what they do in the draft, what they do starting because they're changing. They're evolving almost. So,
yeah, and even at middle linebacker, right? Charles Bernard's a very young player. Who, he got some game time last year, but not a ton. They had faith in him, obviously, right? Because they didn't bring anybody else in, draft or free agency, to compete. Really, it was who they already had. Dotson, anybody else after Dotson that wasn't really a true, like AJ Klein they brought back, and Spector. I don't think those guys were true threats. I think it was going to be Bernard or Dotson, and they obviously had a lot of faith in Bernard.
Yeah, and that goes a long way because, like you said, I mean, even when he did play in spot duty last year, he played in for Matt Milano. It wasn't even for Tremaine Edmonds. So, yeah, I mean, good on them. I mean, hopefully it's a gamble that works out. But yeah, so John, is that simulation still going on? No, yep, yes, it is. You just did a face palm. So what just happened?
If I had to be honest,
not going well.
I ran a simulation and then I just reset it, and then I'm running another.
Why'd you reset it? Why'd you reset it?
They lost, and then
John. I'm
gonna have to reset this one too because they're getting crushed in this one.
John.
Zach Wilson is playing, so Aaron Rodgers got injured, and Zach Wilson just threw a long 40-yard pass. That's not good.
John, you can't reset it every time the Bills lose just because you don't.
I think I can.
Okay,
though.
So I'm gonna have it as Tecmo Bowl agrees with me. It's going to be a close game.
I don't know. I don't know how realistic it is. AJ Klein just got a sack. Is he on the team? I don't think so. So this isn't super realistic.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
You know what we got to do is we got to wait for the week 1 rosters to come out. So,
well, it's week 1. What are they waiting for? Like, jeez, can't you update it? Can't you update the rosters?
I didn't do it. It was somebody else. It says updated July 25th.
Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. So. Anyway, we'll just go with it for now. We have
Let's go with the first
Jets.
game. Why didn't I run any other
Well, that's your fault. You felt like you needed to run another simulation.
I just wanted more stats, but this is ridiculous.
It's like in college or something when you're doing a lab and you're not getting the results you need to get, like when you do the thing and you're just like, I'll just fudge it. They won't know. Like I know what I'm supposed to be getting. It's 300.
Oh, Bills just came back. 42-31. Boom. They won.
Good one, too.
It says Josh Allen, 5 touchdown passes.
I don't. I'm not listening to any of this because you're like Brady deflating the balls because it's in your favor.
Let me tell you, Gabe Davis is catching all the long passes.
Gabe, I wanted to tell him, the sideline surgeon, the Count Dracula nicknames to Berman, but that just never came up. So
It's probably for the best.
yeah, he's like, all right, that's enough. I don't really need to keep doing this with you, Nate. He said he would give us credit though on the broadcast. So if you hear that, let us know.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
especially since neither one of us get ESPN.
Exactly. How you gonna watch it, man? If you don't get ESPN, right?
I think this first game, if I read it correctly, will be on ABC locally.
Okay.
Even in Rochester. Didn't get the onside kick. All right. Anyway, did Berman actually give any good nicknames like himself for the Bills current roster?
He had one for Diggs. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was like, "How do you Diggs me now?" or something like that. I'd have to listen back, but I'm trying to think. I don't think he had a lot. You know what I'm going to do? Okay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to, luckily, our friend over at the Water Buffalo Club 716T, she set this all up for me. So it's all credit to Therese. If you haven't seen the Water Buffalo Club hats, they're like the big blue hats with the horns on them and stuff. But John, I feel like I should text her our top 5 nicknames for the Bills. Okay. So he's already heard Captain Hook and the Juggernauts and the Tyler Bass one that he hates, that he can't say no matter how much he likes it. Which ones would you add to there that you like? Because it's mostly going to be skills players, right? You're not going to get like Osiris Torrens, like Osiris the Virus or Cyborg or whatever. That's not going to come up, right?
It could. I mean, if he lands a block that springs Cook for an extra 20 yards or something, or a touchdown, it could be something. What
do you think about this? I like Dalton can catch. You like that one? I don't have a better one for Kincaid.
No, that's pretty good. I like that one.
Dalton can catch. Okay. Captain Cook, he already knows that one because I told him that one. What else? Ed Oliver, sometimes I call him Mr. Ed because he likes horses, but I don't know if that one will come up. Matt the Missile Milano, I gave him that one.
What do you like better, Matt the Missile or Milano Cookie?
I personally like Matt the the Matt the Missile sounds cool because he's always he's coming down like a missile, right in the backfield. But Milano Cookie is just cool, right? It's just it makes sense.
It seems like a more classic thing.
He liked Berman liked Milano Cookie better.
I could see Berman liking it.
I was like, Matty the Marauder, Matt the Missile, Matt the Milano Cookie. He's like, oh yeah, everyone likes those cookies. Swami. Swami loves him some Pepperidge Farm.
Remember on some of the Swami episodes, he would actually wear the hat.
You wear the hat, yes, exactly. Some of the best things, dude. I was reading, so before the interview, I'm doing some research, doing Wikipedia. He's like, oh, of course they have a section under him that's he's drawn criticism for the way that he does games. Some people call it cheesy or corny or whatever, and I'm like, that's all the reasons why I love Chris Berman, because otherwise, and I love regular sportscasters like Bob Costas, right? Bob Costas is a great sportscaster. There's a lot of other guys in that. I like Joe Buck. People hate Joe Buck. I like Joe Buck a lot. I like, some of those guys, that I loved Al Michaels. Remember Dan Dierdorf back in those guys?
Frank Allen Dan.
Frank Allen Dan. Love those guys. But Berman was just it was just another level. It was he was just cool. It was I don't know. It was like Madden. People loved Madden, right? Sure, there were some people that were critical of Madden's way of explaining football, but he was entertaining as hell if you were listening to him.
Yeah, I mean, when the Bills get the ball, they're definitely going to want to score a touchdown.
At the end of the day,
if given the choice.
I think what they're going to want to do here is take the ball down the field and score. Oh wow!
You're right though. He was very entertaining.
He was. I mean, it was. Sometimes you rolled your eyes, I guess, for Madden, but at the end, you're just he's good. He's fun.
And it was a good combination, him and Summerall, really.
Yeah, it was. I love Pat Summerall too. So John, other bets. We talked about the Bills. We each have our picks for the Bills. What do you have for your other 2 bets? So the Bills game will be the tiebreaker between our picks, but I have a couple of games. You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
I don't know. We can alternate if you want.
Okay, you go first, then I'll go. This is your.
Okay.
We should come up with a nickname for this segment where like these are our locks because we have to bet the Bills game no matter what. That's just part of this betting on the Bills, right? This is our betting on the Bills segment where we bet on what the Bills game is. But I don't necessarily like the lines of every game. Certain games I like more than other games, right? The lines on them they just work better for you.
Right. So to recap, Nate thinks we're either going to lose or win by 1 or 2 points. And I think they're going to win by more.
We don't need to recap it. We don't need to recap.
Okay. So the first game that I would go for would be Green Bay. Chicago's favored by 1.
In Chicago.
I think Green Bay should be favored. Probably they're the better team. I don't know why Chicago is favored. I think they're
talking about hype, right?
It's got to be. I think they're going to be floundering this season. I think Green Bay is going to be fine. I don't know if they're going to make playoffs, but I think they're going to be better than Chicago. They have they still have a pretty decent defense, great running game, really good receivers. So I mean, obviously we don't know about Jordan Love yet, but we know that Justin Fields isn't there yet, and we don't. We'll see, but. I think Green Bay is going to win outright, and so I wouldn't even, the last time I saw it, I saw Green Bay +1 was -112, but the money line is -105, so I would just take the money line, Green Bay.
Right now I'm looking at the Twin Spires sportsbook odds, and they have the Bears by 1 still. So, yeah, I like that one a lot, John. I like that. I wasn't going to add that to my list, but that made the top 5 of games that I liked. I'm like, that one doesn't seem right just looking at it. I mean, it's week 1, though. Like, crazy things happen, right? Like, you think teams that could start the season terribly, like I mentioned, the Bills potentially losing, has no impact on how good the team actually is. It's still one game, right?
Oh, for sure. Like, we do a pick'em thing at work, right? Like, I'm picking Tampa Bay over Minnesota, which actually that might be a decent bet to make, depending on the spread. Cleveland over Cincinnati.
Wait, you're betting Tampa Bay over Minnesota?
I might.
You are nuts. You are nuts. Is it also taking into account the odds?
It's week 1. It's week 1. So for my work thing is just straight up, like you're just picking the games.
It's straight
every
up.
Single
That's
game.
even less reason to do that. Why would you do? Because it's in Tampa. Why would you ever think that the Buccaneers have any chance of beating the Vikings with Baker Mayfield as their quarterback?
That's the kicker. Is Baker Mayfield he sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I didn't put him in my top 2 picks for this week.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Oh man, I wish you had at this point.
I'm just saying that like week 1 can be pretty wild sometimes. So like keep that in mind.
Okay,
right?
yeah, for sure. Like that could be one of those games. I could see that. You're right, but I'm not banking on that happening. I could see it now. If it straight up is different, like I could see it potentially with the points because the Bucks are favored by 5.5. I could see that potentially. I'm sorry, the Vikings are favored by 5.5.
Yeah, and it was 6. Like I was about to bet Tampa Bay +6, and then it went, and I was like, I'm not sure. I'll wait. I'll sleep on it, and then it went to 5.5. I'm like, dang.
I gotta move now before it goes down.
I don't think Minnesota. Like I'm down on Tampa Bay, but I don't think Minnesota's going to be very good this year. So that's part of the reason for that. But no, for my first pick for this segment here is Green Bay, and I would just take the money line. I think they're just going to win outright.
Yeah. I mean,
if it's only 1 point, so
so it doesn't really buy you much. Let's see the Packers. Yeah, just take the money line. You bet you win more with the. Actually, you know what? Let's see if it's +1. Let's see what the difference is. It's always better if you take the money line at the. No, they're less likely to win. So you're going to make more money if you bet the odds, John.
So when I checked last, it was Green Bay +1 was -112, or Green Bay money line was -105, which would make you slightly more money.
Yes, correct. 5 more. If you bet $100, you win $197 at the money line. Correct, and $192. So you're right. See, this is all about. I mean, I knew that. I was just.
I'm always right. just so
John, should we call this segment the Swami Picks of the Week for this? Something cool, something different. So we, yeah. I like the Packers win a lot. I'm going to go with the Jaguars against the Colts this week in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are only 4.5-point favorites over the Colts. When I checked earlier today, they were 3.5-point favorites. So obviously that's changed. It's moved. I think the Colts are not in for a good season. I don't think that they were good last season. And this season they don't have Jonathan Taylor. They have a rookie quarterback. It's at home in Jacksonville, a team that just came off a playoff game where they could have beaten the Chiefs potentially, but they didn't. I think this is an upstart team. I think Trevor Lawrence takes another step in the right direction. I think this is a good team. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they're a much better team than the Colts are. And I could easily see that. I mean, if Jonathan Taylor was in the game, I think I might have my doubts a little bit. But there's absolutely nothing to make me think that, the Colts have any chance of even being close to staying in this game, especially with a rookie quarterback. I mean, if he plays, we watched Anthony Richardson play against the Bills in the preseason, and he threw an interception right into the hands of Dane Jackson. Nobody throws interceptions right into the hands of Dane Jackson. He's never necessarily in the spot to just catch interceptions. You need to, that takes some guts. So I'm going with the Colts on that one. You don't like that one, though. I saw your face. You don't like that one. You think, I'm sorry, I'm going with the Jaguars on that one. 4.5.
Yeah, I don't. I love Jacksonville this year. I think they're going to win the division, but I feel like this game is going to be closer, more like a 3-point game. I think the Colts are going to play them tough. They got a new coach, new quarterback. I don't feel comfortable betting this game either way.
The Colts have a new coach, a new quarterback. Listen to everything you're saying. They have a new head coach. They have a rookie quarterback.
But what I'm saying is, they're going to play hard.
No
for the
Taylor.
Coach. It's like, I guess you could argue either way.
Every team plays hard for their coach.
I don't feel comfortable either way on this game. I wouldn't bet the Colts or the Jaguars. I like the Jaguars in general. I think they're going to win their division, but I don't know if it was less than 3. If it was 2.5 or something, then I'd probably go for it.
The Jaguars are one playoff win away this season, if they win one in the postseason, to being Super Bowl favorites next season. That's the trajectory they're on right now. And I mean, it's not unreasonable to say that right now. So I don't know. I think they come away with this one. John, what's your other game that you like? What's your Swami pick? Your second Swami pick of the week?
All right.
Okay.
Tennessee +3 over New Orleans.
Yes. Okay. Wait, Tennessee is not favored?
No, the Saints are favored by 3.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I kind of like the Saints this year, but not as much as of everybody else. So, and the Titans coach. I mean, he's always got them prepared. I wouldn't count out the Titans completely, and I think that this particular game, the Saints are overhyped and the Titans are undervalued, and it just seems like the perfect storm of all that. And
is Michael Thomas even coming back? I don't think he's ready. Is he? Is he healthy?
Yeah, well, he's ready. Yeah.
But Alvin Kamara's out for the first 4 weeks, right? He's suspended.
Yeah, he's suspended for 3 games. They got Jamel Williams.
That's a decent backup though,
and a rookie, but who's been hurt. But they got David Carr coming in. I do like the Saints, but I think in this particular game, the Saints are being overhyped and the Titans are being undervalued. That they still got Derrick Henry. They still got Tannehill's still competent.
Still competent, yeah, exactly. I'd argue that he's proven more in this league than Derek Carr has.
I think they're going to be well prepared.
Yeah, I trust Vrabel. I don't even know who the Saints head coach is. Do you know? We're I know it's not Sean Payton. Dennis Allen. I don't even know who Dennis Allen is.
Let me tell you, I'm looking at this Tecmo Super Bowl simulation. The last 3 games the Jets have won. The last game, Allen was 33% completion percentage for 17 yards. The leading receiver was Diggs, 1 catch, 17 yards. What happened?
Dude, it's a sign. It's a sign.
It's a sign that it should have stopped.
It's a sign that I know after that preseason game. So the Tecmo Bowl simulation is it's cool for the preseason game. We'll let the Bills destroy the Jets, but every game after.
Oh, wait, it's only halftime. I'm sorry.
No, okay.
Okay, so
they're only down
by 7. They can still win.
So you have the Titans +3. Okay, gotcha. So my second game, I like that one. I agree with you. I do think I see the Titans being undervalued. Again, a hype thing. I know that they didn't do well last year, but Tannehill was injured most last year, right? So the other game that I like, and I think it's got to do with the fact that like I feel like this team is just they're the super. They lost the Super Bowl, but like it's still a really good team. And I know that Belichick has a good defense, and he's a defensive-minded coach. But I like the Eagles as 4-point favorites over the Patriots. I'm going to pick the Eagles there. I think they win by 5 or more. It's in New England, but I mean, John, like this is a good team. I mean, the Eagles might have even gotten better in the offseason as well. They just seem. I mean, remember they drafted like all those Georgia Bulldogs. Like, it seems like they're on the right path, man. They keep on doing what they're doing. They're a team that could have easily won the Super Bowl if not for some phantom holding call against the Chiefs. Which I still stand by that. I mean, sure, it was a hold, but they don't call that 99% of the time. And only to be 4 points against the Patriots, which I still checked, like Mac Jones is still their quarterback. There's no reason to think at all that I think that the Patriots will even stay within 4 points or within a touchdown even of the Eagles. John, what do you think about that one? Eagles +4, or Eagles -4, rather.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to, I'd bet on the Eagles, but again, that's another game I probably wouldn't bet on.
So if we were to do a parlay, then we have 4 games. Then if you had to pick one of mine, which one would you pick? The Jaguars one or the Eagles one?
Oh, I wouldn't pick either one.
Yeah, sounds like it. Jeez, I was like, you have good picks, and you're just like,
not that I would bet
not
that I would bet the Colts or the Patriots, but I probably would bet the Jaguars and the Eagles. But
because they're good bets.
I'd rather not bet if I had the choice in those particular games.
Okay.
I had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I had like maybe 9 games that I might bet, and maybe 6 or 7 that I wouldn't.
And I picked all of the 6 or 7 that you wouldn't bet on. Okay, all right, cool. Did you include the?
I mean, that could change between now and Sunday, depending on things. But first week of the season, not much usually changes. So I don't think it would.
I mean,
because Belichick has a really good defense, right? Like,
and he has had all offseason to prepare for it.
I like the Eagles, but and the Patriots' offense is, at least their passing game is suspect. But running game and good defense, like they play ball control, they could. And I'm not saying they're going to win, but be closer than you think, type of thing,
I know what you're saying. I don't agree though. I think the Eagles rout them.
If I had a pick, I would pick the Jacksonville game between that and the Eagles.
Okay, so you like that one better?
I like your Jacksonville pick better than your Eagles.
Okay, so let's do a parlay. Let's do. I like your Packers pick more than your Titans pick, although I do like that one as well. So let's say we pick the Jaguars. Actually, the line moved. Of course, it did. Not towards the better, just like you were looking at the one game. Now I see Jaguars as -7. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry, this is another game. This isn't week 1.
I think the Bills are going to win this one.
The simulation.
Oh yeah, the simulation. Yeah.
So the Jaguars are +5 or -5 rather, and I like the Packers. Packers being +1 a lot. $10. If we bet $10 on that, we make.
We'll do the money line on the Packers, right?
Oh yeah.
We're going to do the.
Yes. John, you're so good at betting, man. Jeez. I forgot what a shark you are. No way I'm going to be able to keep up with you. So we bet $10. We win 2 bets paid. We bet $10. We win 20 on a parlay. 2-pick parlay. Sound good?
Sure.
Cool. All right. If you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free to tweet us, DM us, email us, see what you guys think. We started the Best Ball Fantasy League draft this last Wednesday. And so we did that. That was a cool experience. If that goes well and we like it this season, we'll do maybe more next season because you can do a bunch of them. That's what I love about it. I love the fact that I don't have to set lineups every week. I love the fact that it's one and done, but I also get to pay attention to my team every season, or every week rather. So I'm excited about that. What do you think about your team, John?
I have mixed feelings. I don't have a lot of experience in best ball. I've done Dynasty and Redraft, but it was definitely different. I think I like my team better than yours, but I don't think I'm going to win anything.
Oh, I hate my team. If you have the first pick of the draft, it's like the worst pick, because then you don't pick again until like 24 picks or something like that.
Yeah, it really depends on the year, I think, a lot of times. Like, sometimes picking like at the end of the first round is great because you get that second almost like 2 first-round picks.
Oh yeah.
But then you wait like 30 picks or whatever it is, but between your 24 picks. But so yeah, it could go either way. I mean,
I'm not making excuses. I still might beat you very handily, but
you won't. But you could pick 5th or 6th.
why is it? Because Justin Fields is my starting quarterback? Is that
among
why?
other things?
Justin Fields. I had to get the Justin Fields. I had to get the Justin Fields DJ Moore stack. I had to, or else I wouldn't have taken him.
That's pretty good. Maybe not as good as Prescott and Lamb, but
no, that's a really good stack.
I kind of lucked into that one. But
you ever pick up a player or position too early because you think there's going to be a run on it, and then there's not for 3 more rounds, and you're like, shit. I could have no. Okay, all right, John. Dick. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what it's like to lose, Nate. Well, this was a lot of fun. Again, definitely check out that Chris Berman interview that we did just a few days ago. That was a lot of fun. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you do one on Spotify, just take a screenshot of it for me so I can verify that you guys did that. So real quick, we're gonna do our first giveaway after the Monday Night Football game, and one of the things that so I just to give you guys scheduling announcements. Since one of the reasons, again, why we're kind of on the outs with Buffalo Rumblings is that they only allow us to post Monday at noon for post games. So this is a preview game. So this will be the first half of it will be playing on the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network, and we'll do a post game show. Now we're not allowed to normally post it on the Rumblings Podcast Network, but if you follow us like you have been, if you follow this feed, you are going to get that one right after the game. I'm going to post it right after the game. Why not? We'll be up late that night. So I plan on doing Twitter Spaces. So for those of you that are new listeners, those of you that have been following us for a while, last season I did something new. I did some Twitter Spaces after the game, which basically allows 6 or 7 different people to come in on Twitter. If you're following us at CTW Pod, like Circling the Wagons Pod, if you're following us, you're able to call in, quote unquote, call in and talk and give your thoughts on the game that just played. With 6 primetime games, I can't see us doing Twitter Spaces because they're literally right after the game, and which is when we record at 11:30 at night. So I can't take another half an hour to do a Twitter Space, then make the guys wait. It's just not fair. So we'll be doing Twitter Space. We won't be doing one for this Monday Night Football, but stay tuned. We should be doing one the week after that game. So my plan is to release those Twitter Spaces right after we do them. So if it's a 4:00 game, that'll probably be posted around 5:00. So if you want to listen to some post game, talk, while they're still doing the post game radio show, you can hear it then. And then we'll do our normal podcast, which I'll release, the next morning. So that's the schedule tentatively for Circling the Wagons podcast. I wanted to read a couple of reviews, John, that we've gotten since our last podcast. All these people have been entered into the first t-shirt contest, which we'll do at the post-game show this coming Monday Night Football. We have Philly Science Guy. Philly Science Guy wrote, longtime listener, I'm just a bit older and the guys remind me of me and my friends sitting around talking about the Bills and football, following them over from the Buffalo Rumblings Network. I love when I hear, thank you, Philly Science Guy. I love when I hear people say that because that's kind of was the intent of this show, was to talk, have fun, make fun of each other, and talk Bills in the meantime. So I'm glad you guys get that too. Kron writes, Kron writes, must listen, longtime listener on Buffalo Rumblings, glad to follow you guys on your own pod. Honestly, not a fan of all the shows on BR, on Rumblings. Always had to delete a few to get to yours. Great Bills content. You guys crack me up, and listening to your friendship and the conversation feels like we are a part of it. Also love your TeePublic store. People definitely need to check it out. Have a few in my closet. And one last thing, go Bills. That was from Karen. That's cool. That's awesome. She shouted out our TeePublic site. We have I just put in 20 new Bills designs in our TeePublic store. So check that out. The link is in the show notes for the podcast. Check out all those. We're going to do that giveaway I said on Monday, but if you want to get any that are going to be on sale this weekend, check it out there. And Bsecker26 writes, different from the rest. It is obvious these guys are not professional sports people. I just love that they wrote that. It is obviously these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. You're not wrong. So, but just fans who have basic knowledge in history and sports. But that's what makes them a great listen. If there was a wall of fame, wall of shame for podcast hosts, they would definitely be on the wall. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I wonder, we make the wall of fame and the wall of shame. So, like, I wonder which one of us makes the fame and which one of us makes the shame. So it made it sound like we put one on each. So cool. Thank you guys all for that. We have all 5-star reviews on Spotify, so I want to keep that going. Again, if you make the review, just screenshot it and send it to me over Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, or email us ctwpod@gmail.com, just so I see it, and I'll put you in our database for giveaway winners. And again, if you share the episode like through Spotify or Twitter or whatever, if you retweet it or whatever, or you put in the podcast and just tag us in it, like I will put you down each time you do that too. It's not just the one time and you're in. Like you do that every week, you'll also get put in every week, and your odds of winning will get that much more likely. Like Eric Wood always says on his podcast, if you share, we'll double the reach of this episode, this podcast, and tell a friend if you enjoy this too, because we love doing it. We love including you guys in it. We love that it's like a friendship show, like you and your friends. Like I've heard that so many times. It really makes me feel good, because we're definitely not film analysts. We're not film buffs. Just friends that talk about the Bills no matter what, and we might as well just do it in front of a microphone. So cool. Thank you guys all for listening. John, is there anything you want to add before the Bills? The Bills. I want to do my Boomer impression. The Bills and Jets. Allen versus Rodgers on Monday Night Football. What do you think? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, just two quick things. Bonus bet: Chargers -3 over the Dolphins because the Dolphins suck. And the final simulation just came through. Regular season win: Bills 24 over the Jets 17. We had Ed Oliver 3 sacks. Von Miller even had a sack, which was really crazy.
Came in off the sidelines. It was like a wrestling thing. He just came in from the tunnel, jumped into the ring, and just sacked Aaron Rodgers.
He was super optimistic, and he just played. And then James Cook 86 total yards. We had Deontay Hardy 4 kick returns for 105 yards, 26.2 yard average. Dalton Kincaid 2 receptions, 99 yards and a touchdown. So very dynamic player.
Over under for yards and receptions for Dalton Kincaid this Monday night.
It's got to be 99, right? Based on that.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under on that one.
Under on yards and maybe over 2 receptions.
Easy. It's like going to be 3 yards, like I 3 receptions. I bet you it's going to be like we're expecting a lot, but I bet you it'll be closer to like 5 or 6 receptions. And I want to say like it's probably going to be like. You think that's high?
I think that's high.
That's high. Okay, 5. 5 receptions.
First game for a rookie.
5 receptions,
right?
68 yards. That's my prediction.
I'd be very happy with that for a first.
You think it's going to be under 5 receptions, or you think 5's about right? I think
560. How many touchdowns?
1 touchdown.
I like that stat line. That's a good stat line.
5 receptions, 68 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah. First game for the rookie. I like it.
Josh Allen, 120 yards passing. 68 of those go to Dalton. No, I'm just kidding.
174 yards rushing. Three hurdles.
Oh, man. Any other thoughts? You said you had that. What was the other? Oh, yeah. You said that the Dolphins.
The Chargers. Chargers -3.
Cool.
Book it.
I like it.
Guarantee it.
Appreciate all you guys listening. Again, this episode is brought to you by the Twinspire Sportsbook at Del Lago. Like we've mentioned so many times before, it's fun betting on your phone. Like it is. Don't get me wrong. We do it. But there's nothing like being at a sportsbook with the game on, placing a bet. And make sure you get there early, by the way, because there's probably like 20 kiosks for betting. Those fill up like a half hour before the game. So get there early, put in your bets early, and just enjoy, the sports book there. They have great food. We've gone there several times just for the food and obviously made some bets, but like they have great food there. They made one of Mike's crazy, like Mike's so picky sometimes, man. I can say that because he's not on the podcast. He's not here tonight, but he's so picky. He was like, oh, can I get chicken fingers? But I want the wing sauce that goes with the chicken fingers, the garlic parm. And they're like, yeah, we could do that. And they did it. And it was amazing. Don't get me wrong. Taste excellent, but I don't know. Just get the wings, man. Just get the wings. Why you gotta get the chicken fingers if you want? But that's Mike. I know he won't listen, so I can say his childlike palate enjoyed that very much. But and I liked it too. I like the Wings though too. So signing off for John.
Go Bills. I'm going to go with Buffalo 84, Jets 3.
For me, Nate, go Bills. I have the Bills 22, the Jets 21. We'll talk to you guys again after the game.
Buffalo! Hey, let's go Buffalo! Hey, let's go Buffalo! Hey, let's go Buffalo! Find the sound in the parking lot. We got the tailgate down in our favorite spot. We're all fired up and our friends are here. We got some damn good food and a ton of beer. It's finally Sunday. We can't wait for the Bills to play. So kick it off. 12 men, let's hear you scream. Let's hear you scream. Let's hear you scream. It's finally Sunday. We can't wait for the Bills to play. So kick it off, 12 men, let's hear you scream.
Thank you for listening to the Circling the Wagons podcast. Download and subscribe to us in your favorite podcast service. Email us at ctwpod@gmail.com. That's Charlie Tango Whiskey Pod @gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at CTWPod. And most importantly, go Bills!
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, Nate.
Well, listen, the whole show is called Circling the Wagons. Say no more. I love it.